Hey guys, so this morning we're gonna make some sourdough bagels and I'll show you how to do that. They are super easy and super tasty and everyone I've shared them with loves them. So here we go. We're gonna start with 100 grams of active sourdough starter. Then we're gonna do 255 grams of water. We're gonna do 10 grams of salt and 30 grams of honey. So I like to mix all those ingredients so those get nice and incorporated before I add my flour, which we're gonna do next, which is 500 grams of flour. Now this recipe will make about 8 bagels. It's not a full dozen. I usually double it and then I'll get about 16 bagels. So we're just gonna throw it in the KitchenAid and let the KitchenAid do all the work for us. So there's the dough, it's about done. I just like to form it into a nice ball. Super quick. Pop it back in my bowl. I'm gonna put a bowl cover over it and it's gonna rest for about 12 hours till it's doubled in size. I keep mine in the oven just to kind of keep it safe from everything that's going on in the kitchen. I don't have a pilot light in my oven. I don't keep the oven light on. I just leave it in there. If you're worried about heat, you can pop your oven on the keep warm setting at first for about 5 minutes. Let it heat up in there. Put this in there, close the door, leave it for 12 hours. It's usually good to go. Okay, so it's been about 8 hours. The dough has been rising. It's nice and soft looking. The next step is going to be weighing it and sectioning it out and then shaping them. So I'm going to weigh my before. I'll take my dough out. And I'm going to weigh my after with it empty. So we have about 880 grams of dough. I'm going to divide that by 8. So we're looking for 110 grams per dough ball for each bagel. And now we're just going to shape them into nice little balls. And then we're gonna let those rest for about 10 minutes. So while those are resting, I'm gonna get my baking tray ready and my parchment paper. I'm gonna cut this piece of parchment paper into 8 pieces, and you'll see why for the next step when we go to boil them. It is very helpful to have individual pieces for each bagel. Okay, so now that they've rested for about 10 minutes, now we're going to shape each ball into a bagel. I just puncture a hole in the middle and then use my fingers to stretch it out because they are gonna shrink back. So even though that looks huge, it will shrink back. So now we cover them for another 2 hours and let them rise again. Alright, so it's almost been 2 hours that the bagels have been rising. I've got a stock pot with water and a pinch of baking soda, and we're gonna get that started on the stove. We're trying to get it to boil, so I'm gonna throw it on high. Alright, so we've got boiling water now, so we're gonna boil each of these bagels. Each side is gonna get about 1 to 2 minutes in the boiling water. And this is why the parchment paper being in small sections is super important, because I'm going to drop each one of these in there and slowly release it off. If it was all on one piece of parchment paper, you would have had to kind of rip the bagel off of the parchment paper, and they don't turn out as well. So I can fit 3 in here at a time. And get 3 going. In the meantime, I've got my everything bagel seasoning ready to go with a spoon. And then I've got a slotted spoon to get the bagels out of the boiling water. And I'm going to get my oven started to 425. Now while those are boiling, I'm going to get these ones with the everything bagel seasoning going, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on top as much as you want. And this will work for any kind of topping you want. Just poppy seed, sesame, plain, you just don't put anything on them. Jalapeno cheddar, you could slice up some jalapenos and slice up some cheddar and throw it on there. This would be the time to do that. Okay, here's a little closer look at placing these in the boiling water. So you can see once the parchment paper gets a little steam, a little wet on it, it just releases really nicely. And here is all our seasoned bagels. We're gonna put them in the oven. Remember, the oven's on at 425, and it's gonna go in for about 30 minutes. It might plus or minus a couple minutes or 2. And I put the bagels on the top shelf. I find for my oven personally, it cooks best on the very top shelf. All right, so the bagels have been in there for about 28 minutes, and I'm gonna pull them out. They're looking pretty good. There you have it. Now they're still really hot, but I'm gonna try and get the parchment paper off and get them on this cooling rack. All right, and here's the final result of the bagels. This is how we do sourdough bagels. It's one of my favorite recipes. Like I said, everyone who I've given them to loves them, and not too bad for making bagels. They're pretty easy. So thanks so much for watching. Feel free to give this recipe a try and let us know how it goes.